Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome as well. My name is Heidi and you are watching Heidi Creates. Today, this is actually the second part to last week's video. We started with a clock and so we're going to go into that pretty quickly, not much of an introduction. At any time while you're watching this video, if you're enjoying what you're watching, hit the thumbs up button. And also, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and then click that little bell right next to it. That way you can get a notification every time a new video comes up for your viewing pleasure. All right, so let's get started with our video. Yeah, we're making a clock. We're gonna get that finished up today and see you on the other side. Just in case you haven't seen the first video, I'm going to put a link up above for you to click on. That way you can catch that video. And this is actually how far we've gotten with our clock. And yes, it's a big clock. But we got it all put together, glued, screwed, and sanded. That's a big thing, is getting a lot of sanding to do. The next thing that we need to do here is we're going to prime this. I'm not staining it, I am painting it. You can do a 2-in-1, I think it's what they call it, a 2-in-1. It's a primer paint all in one. You can do that because I do have Kills. I'm using a water-based Kills. I'm going to use that as my primer before I paint. Here we go. I have my painting shirt on. I have my paintbrush. Just wanted to show you that I'm using the Kills 2, which is a water-based primer. So we'll go ahead and get started with this. I allowed the primer to dry for an hour and it's dry to the touch. I'm going to go ahead and paint my clock board. It really doesn't matter what type of paint you want to use. I'm using a latex semi-gloss. It's a latex, it dries quickly. We'll see how it looks after that. Probably one coat will be enough, but we'll go from there. Well, I've let this dry, I think, an appropriate amount of time. And so the next thing I'm doing here is this. I want to just rough up the places where this would naturally have wear and tear. I don't even know what grit sandpaper I have. It doesn't even say. But it's not real rough. It's kind of like in between. But it's probably around 1/4. And even where I can see some grain popping through, let it pop through, bringing up however much distress you want to bring up in the wood. So I've sanded the edges to where I'm happy with it. And so what I'm going to be doing now is, let's see if I can show this to you. I have a Minwax wood finish. It's a stain. The color is Espresso 273. Just using one of these little sponge applicators. And everywhere, I'm going to be putting this on pretty much everywhere, but I want to put it especially where I have sanded away the paint. Kind of like doing a glaze over this. It's antiquing it, and it's going to be showing the distressing and the graining and everything just a little bit better than if you were just to leave it white. And so I do a section of it, and then I come back and I rub it away. And you can see in the edges where it's been sanded, it's a little bit darker there. And you can, I'm using what I have. right now, and espresso is the color that I have that I thought was pleasing for this. So you can see how that's causing the grain to really show up just even on the surface as well. So I just kind of like to work in sections that I feel like I can control. I don't want it to dry on me too terribly fast. So I want to be able to wipe away however much I want to be able to wipe away. See how the lines between each board, I love that. I like it to look like it's been pieced together. Obviously this is not fine furniture, you know, for those of us out there who like the distressed look of wood. You know, seeing the imperfections is the beauty of this process. Give you a better angle here of how this looks. You can see how the grain is really popped out with the glazing of the stain. It's showing every imperfection. So I'm really liking how the top surface is going. And so now I'm going to go ahead and do the edges back in a little bit and show you what we have. Here is the clock board with all the stain glazing done. Really showing up in the grain and in the cracks between the boards, which is what I really want. I'm kind of thinking though, I might want to brighten this up just a little bit. I think I might take a dry brush of the white paint that I put on here and just do a light dry brushing on here just to brighten it up a little bit. What I've done is I've taken my paintbrush that I used to paint the white on here, and on some newspaper, I got as much of the paint off as I could so that there's just barely anything on the brush, so it's fairly dry. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just going to be doing a light skimming of the brush over the face of the clock, and I'm not taking away from what I've done, but I'm just brightening it up a little bit. It was a little bit too coffee toned, I guess you could call it, and I didn't really want it to be so coffee toned. And really, you know, when you're doing these kind of projects, it's all about getting the right color and getting that final look that you're happy with. And yes, I think this is going to be it for me right here. I still have all that grain showing through because of the glazing that I did, but it's not quite as dark. It's just brightened up a little bit. There's a strip where I haven't done it yet, so you can see where it's a bit more yellowed, not really, it's more brown. And over here, it's a little brighter. You can still see all the imperfections, all the grain. It's just brightened up a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and finish brightening this all up, and we'll come back for the next step. Okay, this is the finished look. This is what I was looking for. I got the glazing to bring out the wood and the distressing and the imperfections, and then did the dry brushing with the white over that. It's brightened it up. I'm liking the overall look of it, and now it's off to the next step. So the next thing that we're going to do here is actually put the clock, the number division on here. And instead of me going through a whole explanation on how to create that using a compass and everything, I'm going to put a link, and if you just look up above the top of the screen here, let's see, where is it at? Up here, just look at the top. I'm going to put a link. There's a guy at this channel who does a really great explanation on how to get an even division for all your numbers of the clock. And so it doesn't really matter how big you make it, because once you have it made and you line this up on your board, then you can extend the lines out as far as you need to for wherever it is that you want to put the numbers on your clock. As you can see, there's going to be some places I can actually put my numbers way out here if I want. I can put them in a circle shape. I can follow the shape of the square, but I just extend my lines out wherever I need to extend them, and that's where I will be putting the numbers. So the first thing I need to do is I need to decide where center is, and very easy here because I have 6 boards. The center is very easy right here. Now I need to decide where it is right here, and I will go ahead and figure that out. Okay, I found the center of my board, and I poked my pencil through the hole in the center of my paper, lined those 2 up, made sure my line is running directly on top of my center line that runs through the vertical of the board. I'm going to go ahead and tape this down. I'm going to go ahead now and take a long straight edge, and I'm going to extend my lines out and then figure out from there where I want to place my numbers. I went ahead and printed numbers using my computer. I wanted my numbers about 2.5 inches tall. The 6, the 9, the 12, and the 3 are going to be the shortest distances from the center of the clock. I really don't want the numbers to go in a circle. I want to follow the square shape. So I'm using this framing square actually to, I'm lining up this edge with one of the boards because that's, you know, it's going to be a pretty straight edge. And that's going to give me a straight edge to follow. So I got my mark for where I want my 6 to set, and then I square it up, and then I'm going to go ahead and make the mark for the 6, the 7, and the 5. So, you know, the 7 and the 5 will be on the same plane as the 6, and we'll kind of follow that square shape. Now, given that I know the distance, I think it was 9 inches. Yeah, it was 9 inches from center, so I'm going to do 9 inches from center for the 9. Now I'm going to be using my line from down here at the bottom of the clock for getting square, and I got to move that out to where that will work. Okay, so then I'll mark for 7, for 9, excuse me, for 8, 9, and 10, the farthest point that I want them to be. I will continue for the rest of the numbers, marking where I want those to go. I've got some transfer paper here that I'm going to use to transfer the numbers onto the clock face. And we'll use tape to kind of hold this in place. If you've got like a Cricut or something like that, you can print vinyl numbers. You can do stencils. There's lots of options. I'm opting for transferring the numbers onto here. I like to paint, so I'm going to paint my numbers on. Yep, we got a nice looking 6 there. I'm going to go ahead and finish out the rest of the numbers, and we'll start painting. I have all the numbers transferred on, and I am liking the way it looks. So what I'm going to go ahead and do next is I'm actually going to drill the hole in the center for the clock mechanism. This is actually the movement part that I purchased. I got this on Amazon. I just looked for a size that was appropriate for the size clock that I wanted to do. And they should tell you that when you're looking at different movements, it should tell you what size clock that they're for. So take a good look at that. Know what your clock is going to be before you go shopping for your hands, because you don't want your hands to be too short or too long. So, so I'm going to go ahead and figure out. It doesn't say on here what size hole to drill, so I'm going to have to take a look at the shaft of the mechanism and drill the hole according to that size. I am going to go ahead and paint the numbers on, and I'm using Liquitex acrylic. It's black. I like this paint because it's a good bodied paint. It's not really runny. It'll pretty much stay put right where I paint it. The next thing that I have to do in order for me to be able to put the clock movement on is I need to drill an opening in the back of my clock that will fit this part. That's just because my wood is too thick. I have to have a little bit of thread showing through on the front side so that I can tighten it down. I traced out my shape here. I'm going to router that out. And I've set my depth. For the depth of this wood that I'm setting here, in order for me to have something to rest the router on, and then just a little bit more, just enough so I have a few of the threads poking up for cinching it down. I've routered that hole in the back, and as you can see, the brass part is sticking up above, so that means we can screw it down. Before I put the clock together, I'm actually going to do a wax coat on it. This is by Varathane. It's a finishing wax. I'm just going to actually take a soft cloth, rub it on, and then buff it off with another soft cloth. This particular wax says to wait 10 minutes for it to dry before buffing it with a soft cloth. So I went ahead and let it dry, and you'll see it just gets just a really nice sheen to it. But I just like the overall look that the wax gives it. Okay, got that in. Put this rubber, this is a rubber washer here. Put this brass washer right over that. And a little hex nut. Screw that down. Make sure that's tight. There, I think it's supposed to be seated just a little bit more. And they're parallel on the movement part. So I think it's good to go. And when I move the minute hand, the hour hand does move. Well, there we go. The clock is finished. I'm happy with it. I think it goes with my style really well. Looks really good on this wall with everything else. It has some continuity there, and there will be no problem seeing the time from across the room. I hope you enjoyed this. Until next week, have a great one. Stay healthy, stay happy.